going on, everybody? We are back for another edition of the Double Switch podcast. For those who are listening to this podcast, you can actually see us now if you'd like. You can get online. We have partnered with PickSwap Media Group, and we're coming to YouTube. Exciting stuff happening here over at the Double Switch podcast. And Johnny, people are probably asking why we want to talk more Phillies. After seeing everything we've seen the past 2 weeks, I mean, the sensible thing would be to just stop, find a new team, start over with, something else, pick up a different sport even. I mean, it's just been awful this past 2 weeks. Brutal stuff out of the Phillies. Where are you at with this team right now? I mean, it's frustrating. We know that, but just where are you at?
Well, first of all, hello, everyone. I'm glad you can see us now. It's kind of weird for us. These are our guys. So, I've seen these guys play worse the past 10 years. I'm not in full panic mode yet. I think with a couple adjustments, I think we can get ourselves back on track. But the way that we lose is impressively bad.
Yeah, that's safe to say. It's absolutely brutal what this city has kind of had to go through these past couple of years. And I mean, the Phillies have had it the worst. I think there's not really a debate as to the past 10 years. We've just seemed to top every loss with just, a worse loss. And this team just seems lifeless. I mean, does this team have a drop of fight in them? These losses, it's just team looks dead. You saw the picture of Castellanos after, he hit the game tying go-ahead home run. And then we blew it. He just looks defeated. Everybody looks defeated now. And I'm kind of worried that, we're not going to be able to get that energy to rally. I'm worried that the team's too down on themselves. The mood in the clubhouse, they're kind of starting to feel like, like losers from all this losing. And I don't know how we're going to be able to shake that, especially with Girardi at the helm, who's doing nothing to improve the mood here in this clubhouse.
I mean, yeah, this team, it doesn't look good. And what's really bothering me is we see that the offense can respond and react to things that happen to them. If we go down, like they've made a lot of comebacks this year that haven't been like topped off of the win. But the pitching doesn't respond or like to anything. To a bad inning, you would think they'd come out there and want to be better, want to improve, be better at their job. We haven't really seen that yet from the pitching in general. Starters and relievers later in their outings.
Yeah, let's start with the relievers. I think it's kind of the developing theme for this team as we go on. I got to ask, it's been asked recently, is Knable the guy? Is he the guy we thought we'd be getting? Or is he the guy that the Dodgers kind of turned into, a lockdown reliever? And he was kind of feeding off of that, that Dodger energy. They just seem to develop players into like the best player they can be. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be the lockdown closer that we thought we were getting. I think lockdown closer is probably out the window. I don't know if he's going to necessarily be, a top tier reliable closer. And if he's not going to be able to do it, at what point do we ask whether he's the best candidate in this bullpen to do it? Because I know you've been on the Sir Anthony bandwagon since, we saw him come back from this surgery. Sir Anthony has closed. Knable has worked the middle innings. Is it time we switch those two and kind of just see where it takes us? I mean, it can't really be much worse than it has been these past 10 days.
I think that could be a good idea. Looking back to your analysis of Knable, I do think he is the guy that I thought we were getting. I knew he was a strong arm, but I kind of figured we would thrust him into the closer role. If we had the luxury of putting him in the 8 spot, it probably would be a little bit better. So I think that's why Sir Anthony deserves a shot at the closer spot, because I think it'll make Knable a little more effective as the setup man.
Yeah, when Knable's not working, he seems to get hit pretty pretty hard. I don't have his exit velocity numbers here, but he seems to give up a lot of hard contact when he's not right. I know his velocity was down these past 2 weeks. I'm not really sure what that played into it. And I know the numbers, they look fine if you take out these kind of blow up outings he's had. But Sir Anthony's been there all year. And I think he's kind of just earned a little bit of an opportunity here. The same can't really be said for anybody in the bullpen. So I don't see the harm in giving him another chance in that closer role just to see, if it can change the dynamics of our bullpen. Stick Knable, 8th inning. And I mean, working backwards, I'm not really feeling too good about many of these names. Brad Hand, Familia, Nick Nelson. It's just you know. You don't really know what you're going to get, and it's kind of scary because these starters can't go, with the exception of Wheeler and Nola, can't really go past the 6th, 7th inning. We're going to need someone to step up here soon, and I don't know if it's going to be internally. I don't know if we're going to have to go get somebody at the trade deadline. I don't know if there's names in this minor league system. I know you tend to believe there are, but where's this help going to come from, and is there help coming?
Well, it's going to have to be a shakeup. I think that what we just talked about, I think Sir Anthony Dominguez being in the closer role, I honestly think he would see less innings, which is probably good for his arm. So I think that would be good for him. And Knable, I think, like we were just saying, like we need him to stay hot. He gets hot as a pitcher. And maybe as like a setup man, like 7th, 8th guy, we'll see more like daily pitching. He won't be like reserved or have days off. We've seen that happen a lot recently. But as far as the rest goes, I think it's time to give some youth a chance because we're at a point where we're rock bottom. This is the time to give them a try, have some faith in our young guys. A couple names I'd rattle off. I like Mark Appel, former first-round pick. Francisco Morales, we saw a little bit of him. And Dylan Maples. Kind of a wild card, but.
Yeah, Francisco Morales, I think he should be in the bullpen right now. He's just dominated AAA. We didn't really even give him a chance. We know Joe doesn't like these young pitchers at all. Never has. Doesn't have trust in them. But, I mean, the veterans aren't getting the job done. Maples is an interesting name. I don't know if he's necessarily the guy who's going to be able to help us. His walk to strikeout rate is just about 1-to-1. And the problem so far that I've seen with this bullpen, it's kind of like a little under the radar problem because it doesn't seem that obvious. Just walks, just letting people giving up free bases, and those walks come around to score when you don't have awesome defense bail you out turn 2. The walks got to stop, and Maples isn't necessarily that guy to limit the walks. And Appel, I mean, good story. What's the worst that could happen from bringing Mark Appel up and giving him a chance? Either he's fits in with the rest of the bullpen and is not good, or he is good, and we have a new reliever. I don't know how all that works out with roster space. I know the 40-man's kind of cramped right now, but you're right. And
well,
I don't know. Fortunately,
what does this team have to lose at this point? Sending James Norwood down to AAA for a couple months and bringing Mark Appel up to fill his role.
We got to have a talk about James Norwood. How is this guy still on this roster? How?
Dude, he's one of Joe's bros. You know how Joe is. He finds himself one guy, and he sticks to him. He's like a leech. And James Norwood is his guy.
Try to imagine in your head James Norwood having a 1-2-3 inning. I can't do it. I just can't imagine it because it never goes good when he pitches. It might just be a morale booster, just honestly getting him out of the bullpen. In the meantime, since I think Norwood should have been sent down, we sent down Bailey Falter, who I'd rather have in my bullpen right now, and Jose Alvarado. For all of his problems, rather have him in my bullpen. James Norwood is just not ready. That's not to say he won't one day be a good major league pitcher, but the guy just needs a hard reset in the minors, and I just can't believe he's still on this roster.
Yeah, honestly, biggest pet peeve this year is watching a game, kind of a close game, and I hear T-Mac say, Oh, we got James Norwood warming up in the bullpen, and like a important part of the game. It's getting like it's becoming a regular thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Him, I think he's easily the most expendable. I think any of those three names, bring him up instead of him would be, just a wild card, see what happens type of thing. Um, I mean, who else is in this bullpen right now? Brogdon, Nelson,
Pilati.
Bilotti, who I'm actually starting to gain a little trust in. Besides, I know he kind of blew it against the Giants, but it's important to remember like these situations. Like Nick Nelson, prime example. We brought him in the 10th against the Braves. That's not Nick Nelson's spot. Like Knable was available. Um, like he's a middle reliever, and you can't put these guys in high leverage spots and expect good things to happen. It's just not how it works. Um,
Yeah, but then
so I think
again, our high leverage guys weren't the ones for the spot the night before that.
you see the interesting thing about that Braves game. You remember the Harper go ahead home run, and then we blew it in the next inning. I
Yes.
thought our season might have just turned around, and then it didn't. Knable said he wanted the ball. Yeah, you heard that like whole thing where Knable's like, yeah, that's my game. I should have had the ball. Joe said, no, I don't pitch guys on 3 innings. And then I don't know if you were paying attention this weekend. Knable pitched 3 days in a row. He pitched
I
one pitch on Saturday, pitched three games in a row, and I was just watching it, and I was so confused because, I mean, that just it doesn't make sense because now we don't have Knable tonight because we used him yesterday in that game. It's just with Joe, it's always something. Like it's very few things you can actually connect the dots on what he's trying to do, and the bullpen usage is top of the list for me right now. Top of the list.
What do you think about the offense?
I think Nick's coming around. Um, I think Bryce is top 5 hitter in the game right now. Um, I think Reese is, Reese is on the roller coaster that always is Reese's season. JT, I'm just about out on JT. I don't know about you. Um, I'm starting to kind of question if the best days of JT are behind him. I think it's becoming fair to say that he's probably more of a bottom third of the lineup type hitter. Um, I think we should stop relying on him to really drive in runs. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Yes, we should see the reality. Put him in the 7 or 8 hole probably.
Stubbs, kind of swinging it lately too.
Yeah, but do you think Stubbs, if given a larger sample size, we'll say JT's hypothetically JT's not in the Phillies, do you think he'd be able to be a big league catcher?
No, he's not a starter, but I don't see why we can't split time with I don't know, a righty who has platoon issues, and collectively, I mean, if you have 50 games of Stubbs, 50% of the time Stubbs catching, 50% another catcher should be able to put at least JT type level output, right, for a lot less money.
Yeah, no, I honestly I was thinking about that during the game the other day, and honestly, we probably could have platooned a right-handed catcher with Garrett Stubbs for under $10 million, and probably got the same productivity.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to change the subject. We're kind of flying through subjects here, but I saw a graphic the other day where it was all of Dombrowski's signings, and man, I got to tell you that list was not. It was not a pleasant list. Chase Anderson, Matt Moore, JT Realmuto, Didi. It's not going to come back down on him. But at what point do we kind of have to question the signings these past years in the Dombrowski era? He hasn't seemed to really be hitting on too many signings, and he's not really. No one's really even talking about that.
Um, I think it's the cycle. It's I was tweeting pretty aggressively about it earlier. It's kind of like this Philadelphia insanity cycle where we like kind of buy a player, We misutilize him. Then we all complain about him. He gets cut or traded, and then we try to buy something better. And like we literally like we just got Harper, and like then once the other guys of that like free agency era didn't pan out, we went out and got these guys. Felt like a massive upgrade. And now we're already complaining about the signings again, and it's only been like 2 months. It's insane.
It feels like every time we try to fix problems, we end up creating problems somewhere else. And it's really annoying because, the problem with the Phillies and the problem with the whole organization is it's kind of become like a whole thing where you kind of just point fingers. It's always somebody's fault, and we always try to pin it on an individual thing. You remember it was Gabe for a while, it was the bullpen for a while, and none of these problems we keep pointing at ever it's never the answer. It's a really really weird thing to watch a team where it's no one knows. I really don't think anybody knows what's wrong with this team. I don't think firing Joe. I don't agree with what Joe's done, but do you think firing Joe and bringing in? I mean, I don't even know. There's no good candidates out there right now to replace Joe. Putting Dusty in his spot as interim manager, do you really think that this team is going to be any different?
I don't really know for sure. I've kind of wrestled with this one for a while because I was pretty early on, like get rid of Joe, send him back to MLB Network. But now I'm starting to think like, could it just be like a clubhouse? Like, could it just be like a character issue in the clubhouse? Like, do these guys like are they not able to like get like a fire underneath themselves? Like, how much could like Dusty Waltham do for these guys except for just having like a ambiance change in the clubhouse? So
Yeah,
I don't think firing them guarantees us winning, but at this point, I'm willing to see what a shakeup does.
how much longer do you think he makes it? Do you think he makes it to the All-Star break?
No, and I just say that because his contract, the Phillies didn't pick up his option for next year. For anyone that didn't know that, which kind of doesn't really like give the real Phillies a whole lot of incentive to not fire him, because I mean, they could just use someone like Dusty or Rob Thompson and look for someone new in the offseason
Do
instead
you
of
think
dragging
that?
out this.
Do you think it's just going to be Dusty for the rest of the season when they cut Joe loose?
Yes, and I'm really curious to see if Rob Thompson goes too, because I've talked about it. I feel like they're interchangeable. They've worked the Yankees together. They're kind of like buddies. So I don't see like a situation where like they both. I feel like it could be ugly. They might both leave.
Yeah, I think the clock's ticking on Joe. I just don't know when it's going to be. He seems to have lost the city, really. People are kind of calling for his job, and you can only survive that way for so long. Um,
Do
I
you think it's
think.
Do you think
Good.
it's feasible for the for if say Rob Thompson and Joe get let loose? Do you think it could happen where it does work, and why?
That's a very 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 interesting question. I think you see it's tough because everything the Phillies do gets compared to the Mets. It's like kind of like been our nature lately, both big market clubs signing superstars, paying big money, bringing in, blah, 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 you know, leading the NL East for, a couple months. It's just, we've been compared to the Mets, and you see the Mets in the kind of the job the Buck's done, and it has worked for Buck. I also think that that's kind of deceiving because I think the signings made a lot more sense for the Mets than they did for us. I think that they're they kind of retooled in a way that made sense where we kind of, I don't want to say panic retooled, but we kind of just gobbled up everything we could in the free agent market, and it's kind of not really working for us.
I think a good
So
way to put that would be that the Mets kind of sign players that fit like their like lineup identity. and like team identity, and we tried to buy like an identity.
Yeah, the worst part about comparing us to the Mets is they've like there's this whole thing in baseball where like people don't think you can buy a team. They don't think it's like a sustainable business model to buy a team. Phillies kind of pretty much bought a team, but so did the Mets. Like that team is kind of pretty much bought, and somehow I don't know what it did. It might be I guess it's got to be the personnel, the players. They've kind of like built up a culture where we just haven't been able to do that. And that Mets team has like an identity, and they kind of know who they are. It might have a lot to do with like the players they brought in and like their ability to win. They did kind of bring in winners. So did we with Schwarber, but I mean Max kind of like I feel like that guy carries such like a clubhouse presence, and Lindor, like he won a lot in Cleveland. I don't know. It's a very interesting case study for anybody who feels like studying the Phillies and the Mets.
Yeah, I might save myself the pain.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother. But back to your question. I got way off track there. I don't think Joe's doing anything to help, but I think subbing Joe out for another manager, I don't think it's really going to change much. I mean, it might be, another 4-game win streak, just mood change. But I think there's fundamental flaws in the team that we're not really going to be able to overcome until we face those problems. And at a certain point, like we've been through 2 managers now. We will be through 2 managers. We've been through like plenty of bullpen arms. We kind of have to start to look at the common denominator behind these past 4 years. And it's some of those older pieces, the Rhys Hoskins of the world, the JT Realmutos of the world. And we kind of got to wonder if they're going to be the players we're going to win with. And it's a hard question to ask because, these are kind of the heart and soul of the team. But sometimes it's just not happening. And those players are the only ones who've been through it all. Them, Gene, Adubel to a lesser extent, the Nola, Eflin, they've been through it all, and they're the group that can't really break through. Is it time we start to question that core and whether it needs to really be shaken up to win?
Yeah, it's time. I think we've
it's
talked.
time?
I talked to you a little bit about it when we were going over like our ideal off season, like episode 1 or 2. But Rhys Hoskins, as much as I love him as a clubhouse guy, he's one of our only homegrown talents that's worked out. He's great for the organization. I don't think he's a playoff first baseman, really. I don't think you don't see the Dodgers and like those types of teams. Like they usually have stars at those positions, at shortstop, at first base, at center field. We don't have a star at shortstop, first base, or center field.
Yeah, he's not the type of batter that bats in the middle of the lineup on a winning team. I think that's kind of the word you were looking for. He can't anchor a winning lineup. He's too streaky. He can complement a winning lineup. On the right team, he works. Him, JT. I don't think. I guess we should revisit my Adubel versus JT debate right now, since the world hasn't heard that yet. But JT's effectively Adubel Herrera with the bat, and the guy's never won in his life. Like, what's he bring to this team going forward? And like teams don't win like this. They don't pay a defensive first catcher, $25 million a year. Like that's just not a recipe for success. I couldn't tell you the last catcher to make that much money on a World Series team. That's not where your money really should be going. You can find that talent, maybe not to the defensive level on the open market, but you can certainly find 80 cents on the dollar for probably 10 times cheaper. Gene, like we've said with Gene, he's never won before. At a certain point, it becomes Gene, and it's not his teams. I'm not saying anything about the guy, but if you go that long without winning, you just kind of got to question whether it's just not his MO and his character. Like there's such thing as a winning player in baseball, and it's something that you can't really put into numbers, but there's certain winning players. Max Scherzer is the first one who comes to mind. Like these players that just will themselves to victory, and just by what we've seen with this team rolling over all season, don't know if it's there. Don't know if the grit's there to do it with this core.
No, those other JT, yeah. I was kind of bored at work the other day, putting together pros and cons of having JT Realmuto on my team.
I'm
And like
curious. I'm curious. Can you go with the cons or the? Let me hear the pros real quick because I'm actually really curious.
well, the pros are short. Yeah, I had like pop time number one.
Speed on the base
So
paths.
you pay a guy $23 million for pop time. He has good arm strength, and he keeps Bryce Harper happy.
Does he keep Bryce Harper happy? I
Well,
wouldn't be too.
dude, Bryce wanted us to sign this guy. We had a whole hashtag going on Twitter. Sign JT. Like you guys are criminals if you don't sign JT, and we signed him. They were reluctant to, the team, and we made them basically. And now we're sitting here having this conversation about how he's equal to Odubel Herrera, who makes $1.75 million a year.
I'm guilty of the sign JT. I really jumped on board with that. It was so much fun when we were doing it. Best catcher in baseball. They don't use that hashtag anymore. I don't know if you've noticed. They've kind of strayed away from the best catcher in baseball hashtag. But yeah, we should probably start to question whether Bryce Harper actually knows how to build a baseball team. He doesn't seem to really understand the whole, the puzzle pieces fitting together type thing. He kind of just wants the big names on the market, but that's fine. He gets paid the big bucks to hit, not make those types of decisions. But yeah, I mean, JT, the problem now is like we can't get rid of him if we tried. There weren't people trying to sign him for that money when we signed him, and now he's 2 years older, not as good with the bat, and overpaid.
Yeah, I guess we probably could have foreshadowed giving a older catcher this much money.
Yeah, it just never works. Like people don't like giving like right fielders money into their mid-30s, and we gave it to a catcher.
No, if we were smart, any team was smart, they would have gave like JT Realmuto like 2 years, $60 million.
Yeah, and just get best catcher in baseball performance for 2 years, and then not have to worry about his decline, his impending decline.
Yes, like we are now.
More problems that come along with JT is now we can't really DH him. So now we're just paying absurd amounts of money for a player who only plays 75% of the time. That was supposed to be kind of the key. The whole deal, like the Bryce elbow thing. You're pretty worried about Bryce's elbow, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's a problem.
it terrifies me.
He's probably going to need Tommy John. We all know that, right?
Yes.
You saw Max Muncy, who also needed Tommy John, avoid it, and Max Muncy. It's very interesting though because it's crazy. It's not affecting him with the bat.
Wait, Max Muncy got Tommy John last year?
No, he needs it like right now. He actually, it's funny he said that a couple of days ago. He hurt his arm again and it like flared up, and I think he definitely needs it now. But he was trying to hold off on it and hoping it heals itself. It never works. Like rarely does that ever work. And I think that's what we're doing right now against all odds. How would you approach this Bryce situation right now if you were in charge of all of it?
You mean like as far as like rest throughout the season or like come this off season?
How would you handle him in terms of playing him this year? How would you handle that DH spot? How would you handle, all of it that comes along with not having Bryce Harper in right field? And when would you, like, how would you handle like the injury itself from like a medical perspective?
Yeah, I've actually heard some ideas like floated around online about maybe putting him on like a temporary like injured list, like every like month for like give him like 5 days rest. I'm no doctor, but I think I would just give him off 1 day a week to free up the DH spot to kind of help the longevity of this team and hope for the best. I mean, it's a partial torn UCL, so if it fully tears, does how does that affect the timetable of surgery? Does it?
So, from my understanding of Tommy John, the process is the same. The reason they can even try the PCP injection is because it's partial. They're hoping it could, seal itself back up through these, the stem cell treatment where, it's, yeah, this is where my knowledge stops. But yeah, they're hoping it could come back together. And if it's a partial tear, it's like a piece of paper, pull it apart, can't get it back together. They have to go in and take it from somewhere else in his body, his knee or something. There's a very good chance that with a partial tear, that's what they have to do too. They handle the injury the same. The recovery time's the same, and it sucks equally as much. And it could tear at any moment. Really, they're treading on thin ice with Bryce's elbow. And if he
So to dumb down what you're saying, if he fully tears it, knock on wood, can he still hit?
no, I
No.
think he loses the ability to bend his elbow, and it won't be able to support itself back up. I'm
And
actually really.
if that were to happen, do you think they'd try to give him like another one of the PC? What was it? Shot.
PCP injection. If it's a full tear, he needs Tommy John. There's no point in contemplating anything else. And the Tommy John timetable for Rhys Hoskins a couple years ago, Rhys got it. It was his non-throwing arm, which Bryce does not have that luxury right now. It was 8 months, so that put him out. I mean, that's roughly October to May, and that was his non-throwing arm. He didn't really have to learn how to throw with that arm again. Bryce would have to learn to throw, so you could probably tack on 2 months. Let's assume the Phillies don't make the playoffs at that point. At this point right now, that's a fair assumption. He gets it October 1st. I mean, if it becomes clear that it ain't happening this year, they might shut him down. I wouldn't be surprised if we're 12 games out in August and they're like, Bryce, just go get Tommy John and be ready for opening day next year. I think that's possible too. We should be prepared for that.
Yeah, no, I think I think that was a good analysis of that situation. So do you think that like periodically throughout the rest of the year they're going to give him these injections, like that is saying that like it stays partially together?
Yeah, the problem that I have with the Phillies is I don't really know what they're doing. When Bryce first got hurt, like they kind of waited for the MRI. I remember telling you on an episode he probably tore his UCLA or not UCLA. That's a school. His UCL. And I'm not even a doctor. And they were like, let's not do that. Let's wait. Let's see how it feels next week. And I was so confused. It was just a waste of time. But now they're doing the PCP injections. I'm not sure how many he has, but last one took five days for him to be able to loosen up his elbow enough to hit. Every I guess that would put us at like 4 or 5 weeks. We can expect a PCP injection and miss him for a week. Kind of feels like that's just it. I don't know. I'm not the one to make the decision there, but it seems like a painful process for something that might result in Tommy John anyway. This could all be a waste of time. It's just a Band-Aid.
I'm going to pivot off that. I really thought that with Bryce being injured and being the sole owner of the DH spot, I thought it really hurt like us like injury wise. I thought we'd have injuries. This team has not really been injured at all this year. What's up with that? And they still suck.
That is interesting. A lot of teams they still suck. Yeah, a lot of teams have been bit by the injury bug. Do you think this is starting to wear and tear on some of the players? Do you think Nick Castellanos in right field is starting to feel it a little bit? And I mean Schwartz, in left. Do you think it's just starting to, just be a little too much for him? I mean, they've been out there for a while. I can't tell you the last day off Castellanos had, other than scheduled days off. Do you think it's affecting them being out there more than they thought they would be?
Right now, no. But I think come the time of the year that we want them to turn it on and be like the bats that we signed, if we're in like a hunt, I think then we're going to see it. These guys weren't really planning on playing. I mean, the Castellanos did play right field last year, so
Yeah, he is a
people
right
forget that Schwarber was able to DH, but Castellanos still played like 140 games in right field.
Yeah, the defense has been getting. I don't have stats to back this up, but I feel like it's been getting a little worse. It seems like the outfield defense specifically, a lot of balls misplayed. And man, are they base runners are testing them in the outfield. They're running on everything. I don't understand how Major League Baseball players have arms that bad. It's just I could probably score from second on Castellanos. It's just incredible.
Yeah. What do you think? What did you think of Mickey in center field last night?
Looks good. He looks pretty good. I don't think he's going to be, you know, Gold Glove worthy, but I think he'll be able to run it down.
Yeah, it seems like he takes better routes to the ball.
He's, I guess they're all kind of natural center fielders. I don't know. That's just a skill. That's a skill that some people have, some people don't. But he's going to have to seriously cover some ground out there. I actually liked Roman Quinn out there before Mickey was back. We were giving him quite a bit of time out there, and he has the arm and the speed to kind of pick up some of the slack from the corner outfielders. But obviously,
Yeah.
he's kind of like a fourth outfielder.
It's kind of really painful to think about now that we could have had Mickey Moniak in left field and Roman Quinn play center and have Schwarber DH. Or
yeah,
I guess sometimes.
yeah. Hindsight's 2020. There's a lot of stuff that we could have done differently, and I think we all know that. But we're getting towards that 40-minute mark. Any key points you want to go out on?
I guess something I wanted to emphasize to the Phillies fans. I know no one's really happy with how this team has been presenting themselves and losing ball games, but I don't think it's time for everyone to start slandering everyone and only looking at outside options. I'd say just trust in our guys and let's see where the season goes. Again, long season.
It is a long season. If the Phils are still right around 500 in about a month, is it time to press the panic button?
Yes, we have to be We have to be hopefully a couple games above 500.
Yeah,
I would say 5.
It's early, but it's starting. It's kind of go time now. With the Mets, especially, the Mets seem kind of real. It kind of pains me to say that. And I know Dan's probably feeling pretty good right now. They seem to be different than last year, and it's putting our NL East hopes in jeopardy. I'll admit it. The NL East doesn't look too good right now for us, but there's wild card spots. There's opportunity. And yeah, like you said, it's a long season. But anyway, that should do it. Thank you guys for listening. And if you're just seeing this video here, subscribe on YouTube. We're going to be coming out with these videos weekly going forward. And, we're looking forward to the rest of the season and hopefully better times ahead.
Yeah, everyone enjoy the Phillies this week. And we'll hear from you next week.
Sounds good. Talk to you guys soon.